Mummy, I think I'm being groomed. And I said, do you think or do you know? And she said, I know. She said it felt good. I didn't know. If a drug hit the market and it killed 200 people, it would be taken off the market immediately, wouldn't it? But we're losing children at that rate. Your children, I'm sorry, but they're the product. They are the product making money, and they don't care if your child is harmed because they've got enough money to make it go away. If anything ever happens to you online that makes you feel scared, or that brings up shame, or activates your nervous system and dysregulates you and makes you fear that you might get into trouble, please understand that you are a victim of something that has happened to you, and you are so courageous by being able to come and share that with Mummy, and you will never be in trouble, and I will support you, and we will be able to get through it because your safety matters.
Nyree, the people listening to this right now have probably not heard your name before, and yet you've just authorized what may be the first independent governance standard for AI-mediated child safeguarding anywhere in the world.
Yes, and what a responsibility that is when you say it out loud. It's like, oh yes, it's still really surreal for me, and it's something that I didn't choose, it chose me. And when it came through, it was like a flooding of the answers just coming as I wrote them out on paper. I need the solution. What is the solution? Started researching, started writing things that I had no idea what they meant. And then I had to go research and find what I was actually doing and what data I was looking for specific sets of data as well. They didn't exist. And then that's when the solution started flooding in. And I sat on it for quite some time, building. And now here we are. It's happened very quickly. I just feel blessed. I honestly feel I am so supported. And the people that have come around me to clarify what I've created is so humbling. It is so humbling. Because who am I? At the end of the day, who am I to do this?
So for the audience meeting you for the first time, how do you actually introduce yourself today?
First and foremost, well, my name's Nyree. I'm a mum. I have 5 children. And out of those 5 children, we have had 3 online incidents. 3 out of 5. So that is not something that we say, it won't happen to me. It's not a crisis point. We're at a crisis point here. Now, I have a very colourful life. I've come from a background of being a hair and makeup artist to using my gifts and intuition as being a executive intuitive advisor to CEOs of global companies, strategist, relationship connector, builder. And I will say that I'm very blessed and I'm highly intuitive. And I see things that need to happen before they exist in businesses and companies. So that's probably how I would describe who I am. I'm all about collaboration. I don't do competition. I don't believe that there is any competition. If I win, you win. If we collaborate, it's because rather than being competition, how can we advance together? And the safe community is exactly like that. I have never, in all my entrepreneurial years, been in a community that is a together. Like, we are all in this together. It's an army of people with all different solutions. And we need all of them. There's no right one way. It's a collection of all of us. So I like to build relationships, and those relationships are what I call the currency, because the currency of a relationship is the intimate connection of trust. that we have and we build. And we need that. Us adults need that to support and protect our children online. And we need the children's voices because we didn't grow up in this world like these children have. What their experiences are very different to what the algorithm's giving us.
Yeah, definitely agree. Community and oneness and being raised in a community environment is definitely a very different one to many environments today that people feel so isolated, even though we're connected more than ever before. Definitely.
Yes.
So I want to go back for a second. You mentioned that you experienced incidents, online incidents, or your children has, I should say, and your career was working with high profile CEOs and helping them with their intuition. But I guess at what point did you decide to stop and say, hold on, there's something not right here? And I guess, you didn't just stop. You literally decided to architect a child safeguarding environment.
Yeah.
So that's not something you just read in the news. You've gone ahead and actually done this, which is, amazing in itself. So walk me through that. What did you see and when did you see it and decide, nah, I'm doing this?
Okay, so I went through burnout 12 months ago. My nervous system just completely fried. So I couldn't work. I couldn't, out of integrity, continue working with clients. I had to recover. I had to rest. And I had come out of, in 2020, an extremely toxic marriage of coercive control, abuse, and everything in between. Now, surviving that and moving through that showed me how to read patterns of behavior. And through my recovery, seeing that these patterns were familiar to me since my childhood. So I'm also neurodivergent, so I see patterns. I was 7 a.m., November the 1st, sitting in my lounge room, having a coffee, and I see 5 cars pull up. I thought, that's weird. It's 7 a.m. These 5 cars pull up. I thought, they look like undercover police. And they went into my neighbour's house. Now, it was a covert operation of the federal police for 4 days. Over that period of time, my 9-year-old, at the time, she was 9 at the time, came to me and I noticed that she was a little bit different over the last couple of days. Something was odd. There was a change. And I said to her, sweetie, who are you talking to online? Or is there anything happening? Do you feel safe? And she said, ugh, you can't get anything over Mummy. She knows everything. And I said, what's happening? She said, Mummy, I think I'm being groomed. And I said, do you think or do you know? And she said, I know. And I said, okay, why didn't you tell Mummy sooner? She said, it felt good. I didn't know, but you had told me the things to look for, and then they started happening. But it wasn't a person being awful and nasty and bullying. It was someone who felt like I knew them and they knew me. See the pattern? So we reported that. The federal police were on my doorstep. That was easy. Then we also had and my 14-year-old son there was an incident of a child that he knows that tried to take their life from an online incident, all in the same week. And my eldest son had a sextortion incident at 16, 10 years earlier. When we went to the police about that, and he also told me immediately what was happening, and we dealt with it, the police said, there's nothing we can do because we don't know, they can't trace it, they don't know who the person is, they don't know the jurisdiction of where they're at. So a lot of these circumstances just become, I don't know, what do we do about this? I don't know. And that's not good enough. Then I started researching and looking with children and suicides, which are almost doubling every few years. And that's boys and girls. We're going back our age. How many young girls did you know that suicided? None. Now, we're at a crisis. So I'll just keep saying it. It's a crisis point. If a drug hit the market and it killed 200 people, it would be taken off the market immediately, wouldn't it? But we're losing children at that rate.
Yeah, that's definitely a reality of the environment we live in, and so therefore I read through some of the documents that you have publicly available, and I guess some of those numbers were like crazy scary. You had the Australian Centre of Counter Child Exploitation took approximately 83,000 reports of online child sexual exploitation in a single year. So that's
200
roughly,
a day.
yeah,
That's only what's
200 a
reported
day.
and what we know about.
And there's that's what we know about, correct. You've got sextortion reports that have more than doubled in 2023, and we're now in 2026. So the AFP's child exploitation reports have jumped 41% in 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
I guess most people are hearing these numbers will think we need more reporting, we need more moderation, we need more arrests, but you're saying something different. You're saying the architecture is wrong.
Well, the architecture of the internet is not wrong. It's designed to do exactly what it's doing. It's kind of like a pattern of coercive control. I'll love bomb you, I'll algorithm you, and I'll get you addicted to me. Now we're in a trauma bond, and you're going to get excited every time someone shows you a like. And then you'll feel really bad when you put something out and no one actually notices. Your self-worth. Anyway, so when you see it like that, then if you look at the patterns from cigarettes, from opioids, from any harm caused, the pattern goes like this. We cause the harm, we gaslight you and tell you that we didn't cause the harm. We will get and pay people to come and say that this is not harmful. But then a third party will come in and go, hey, we've proven that you caused this harm. Okay, now we're being sued. Oh, that's just a day's wage. No worries, we'll pay that because that's given us a whole heap of like, look at me, look at me, look at me. And people are still buying cigarettes and people are still taking the drugs. People are still on the internet. And I had looked at all of these patterns over 100 years, even before we had the internet. It's the same pattern. Then after they've been sued and paid out the money, guess what happens? You can have a seat at the table and look at the harm that you've caused and how to stop harming people. Now, I knew all of this before the Meta happened, but I didn't think that it'd be less than 24 hours before Mr. Zuckerberg got a seat at the table at the White House as an AI advisor. So it is by design. Everything is by design, unsafe by design. Your children, I'm sorry, but they're the product. They are the product making money, and they don't care if your child is harmed because they've got enough money to make it go away. It's all about the control. So we need to look at how do we get to the core of the problem? Because at the end of the day, who is accountable if my child is harmed?
Yeah.
Who is accountable to letting these things happen on these platforms? We need accountability.
There's huge confusion out there when that topic comes up. I mean, in the US, we're seeing individual states suing these big tech companies and starting to, like, for the first time we had a win, which was amazing. And that's obviously going to open up the floodgates. But what I want to shift to now is that you sat down and architected a 4-entity governance ecosystem.
I know, right? Crazy.
Amazing. It's a behavioural taxonomy from P1 to P10, certification tiers, and validation gates. That's
Mhm.
not, that's not just a commentary. That's actually commitment to put together a system. So I'd love for you to explain and tell us about SAFE.
Where do we start? So SAFE is an ecosystem, the same way if you look at aviation standards. If
Mm.
there's the people who create the standard then can't test and verify it. It has to be separation. Those separations are really important. So we've developed a SAFE council who will be the ones going through the taxonomy of 1 to 10. We can discuss that in a moment. But then that comes down to Safe Labs, where Safe Labs will be verifying other companies of their safety standards that will be developed and created. So if we can protect children first, we can protect all of humanity, but it has to start with the most vulnerable. So SAFE operates through 4 structurally independent entities. Each has a defined function without controls to the other. So they're all independent, but they're enforced through the governance structure with legal separation. We need to define the risk classifications that protect our children online, that we need children protected online in real time, not after something occurs, before it happens. So what we're developing in SAIL, which is the implementation of the on-device safety AI layer, that is keeping children safe online with their consent and teaching them their relationship patterns, because a lot of these apps, if you will, work after the fact, not before. So what we've developed is it's layered in different stages of showing the different, is it in 1, is it classification 1, is it classification 10? When we get to classification 10, that's crisis. That's where we need a specialist person contacting that child within 60 seconds to ensure that their nervous system stays regulated and we save a life. That's it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, in the work you've put together, I guess, there was a line that stopped me. You wrote that the harm was never in the content,
It's in the relationship.
yeah. And the most, I guess, most of the safety conversations in Australia right now is about content and bans, removals, blocking filters. But you're saying we're looking at it at the wrong layer. So I guess help me understand what you mean. If a parent is listening to this right now, what's one thing about grooming that actually works and what is it?
So grooming is building a relationship. So the grooming is, I want something from you, so I will raise you up, so therefore you feel safe enough to give it to me. And that can be to remove, like, play games with you and build the relationship. We're besties now. Now you can trust me. You can talk to me on WhatsApp, and then we can do video calls and stuff. Cause so that is where it can be a slow burn, or it can happen really fast because they know exactly what they're doing. So they are asking the right questions. So this is where we're developing to understand exactly how a predator's mind works and what are they doing and how are they grooming our children, that our children wouldn't. Do you know what? Most adults wouldn't even know that they're being groomed online. To be honest, how many people have been through coercive control? How many people haven't? So if it's happening to you and that you feel that trust, and they're so good. Only recently, I got a call to say that my identity had been stolen and it was the federal police. And to prove it was the federal police, they would send me an email. And the email that came through was actually from the federal police. But that particular call was not true. That wasn't real. They're so sophisticated. So we have to be even more sophisticated in what that means in building a relationship. Our children, if they have an AI bot that is protecting them online, it's not a friend. We're not making a friend. We are literally creating a safety network. Siri doesn't jump on and have a conversation with you in the middle of the day because she's bored. She just sits on your phone, and when you ask her a question, she'll answer. I was actually thinking, oh God, I hope she doesn't show up here. And she listens. So the AI bot working with the children on the phone will only show up when a pattern has been detected. And it will tell the child what the pattern is and ask, do they feel safe? It will ask, does this feel okay to you? Do you want to pause? Or you don't have to move offline, but it's giving the child the consent to be able to do that. So when we go into testing anything, when we go back up to safe labs, we're doing the same with, like, I can't self-verify any of my products that I build and develop. Like, I can't mark my own homework. Like, I want every platform that says that they are safe, that they're being tested verified by a third party, where we have tested and have the research and data that absolutely proves without a shadow of a doubt that it's a pass or a fail for safety. And that's what we're building. Because if we've got food safety standards, you're not going to go to a restaurant that hasn't passed the food safety standards and there's rats running and cockroaches running around the floor, but they do great food. Are you getting on an airplane? It's like, hey, we've just flown in and we don't have time to do a safety check. All aboard because we're running late. Come on, quick, quick, quick. You'd be like, I'm not getting on that plane. Hey, 9-year-old, here's a phone. Now you can have contact with me. And especially when you're in co-parenting relationships, the child is important. That phone is important between the two parents and the child. But most parents either putting safety locks and things on the child that then they feel that they're being watched. All children know how to get around those things.
Yep, turn it off. Not very hard. There's a gentleman that I watch in the US, the family IT guy, and he put up the best post recently. It's around specific child apps that are very popular at the moment due to good and bad reasons. But he's put up a post saying, hey, these guys have actually, after everything that's happened, have decided to put together new rules that's going to give parents more control. Now, there's something that I want to show you parents in the best way to safeguard it. And he gets on his phone and he goes, opens up, sees the app. He goes, hold your finger on the button and the pop-up comes up with options. Remove app. Done. Problem solved. That's how you keep your child safe. That was amazingly one of the most funniest and best advices I've actually ever seen.
So it is.
Because going back to what you're saying, I've had the same thing in the technology field with guests I've had on here, like Luke Irwin, for example, that basically says, I'm an independent. I can only recommend software and technology, but I have MSPs or managed service providers and vendors who present their options, and I'll guide you to the best of my ability and say, but you have to make the decision because there's no conflict of interest. I'm not bringing someone in saying, hey, I recommend this because A, B, and C, because that's a conflict of interest. Because if you get someone to do the work for you and they're the only people doing the work for you, they're marking their own homework. So
Everyone's
who's going to give
marking their
themselves
own
a bad
homework.
report? And I say it, I've said this many times. If I'm giving myself a report, I'm giving myself an A+. Like, why would I give myself a B, right? Like, what's the point of that?
We've got a safety team. They've all got safety teams that, look at all these things. But depends on where the budget's looking healthy, whether, And they said that they're implemented, but doesn't mean that they are. Another thing I've noticed too is there's a lot of new companies coming out with solutions for safety, and they're claiming that they are safe, that they've got the answer, that they can prove it, da-di-da-di-da-di-da. You're still marking your own homework. And it's all with good intention, and they could be safe, and they probably are safe. But until you have the verification code, I'm sorry, I don't want to trust you. Honestly, don't even trust me. Like, they have developed something backwards. I don't know any other founders who have built something and said, I can't start until you actually give me all the codes to ensure that what we're building in this technology is coded in the right way even. So we've been developing technology. The technology has to exist so then we can break it and ensure that it's coded correctly, and then we're going to do all the research. And we need to be human first, human-centered and focused first. That's what we're keeping safe. We're not keeping the technology safe. We're not keeping AI safe. We're keeping humans safe. And we can do that with AI, but it's human first, not AI first. And if we don't correct this, if we don't bring in these standards, no one's going to be accountable. The other thing that is a huge eye-opener is no policies and no data cross-match or meet each other from any other countries. Yet, are we in a borderless artificial world here? We absolutely are. So why do we not have if you fly an aeroplane and you're going from Australia to America, the policies of the standards and the safety is the same. It has to be. It can't be a different standard when I fly to America and then that plane goes to Europe. It's everywhere it lands, it has the same standards. Why doesn't the internet have that? These are my questions, and this is what I want to develop. I want to have a global standard that companies can be held accountable because, and then insurers are going to be sloppy because if a company has the standards, and it's something that's going to have to keep testing. It's not a one and done. We can't go in and verify a company and 3 months later they change everything and put it back to where it was and now they're no longer safe, but they've got a tick of approval. There's a lot of work to be done here. And I'm crazy enough to say that this is my mission for the rest of my life, and I won't sleep until it's done. And I've got an army of people around me sitting at the table going, I will show up and I will be a part of this. We're in discussions with some global entities, I'll say. And because it's not about saying that I have the solution. Is this the solution? And is this something that we can all work together on? Because I'm not qualified to even have a seat at the table. I'm not qualified to even vote. I'm not qualified to do anything other than architect it, build it, and they will come. Build it and they will come, right? And when they do come, I step aside and go, this is awesome. Now I get to build all the technology that is ready to come through me safely.
Yeah, that's so cool. So, as I said, I've looked through the documents that's publicly available about SAFE, and the way I've read it, there's 3 organisations effectively: Safe Writes the Standards, Safe Labs certifies, and Sales implements it. So none, as you said, controls the other. That's the whole trust mechanism happening. But let me play the devil's advocate here for a minute, right? Okay, so standard bodies get captured all the time, as you said. You said this before. I mean, we were talking about ISO, NIST, and many other platforms, safety platforms or frameworks out there. The platform ends up getting a seat at the table, as you mentioned. The person who owns this big AI or big tech company somehow ends up having a seat at that table. They end up watering it down, and the certificate, let's just say, becomes a sticker that you stick on as a magnet fridge on your fridge. What stops that happening with SAFE?
So why is it different? Because every single person that has a seat at that table is accountable to each other and themselves, and they must remain neutral because it's not about their opinion. We're not sitting there with opinions. There's plenty of opinions flying around. We are going to ensure that we come back with what's working. And it's not going to happen overnight at all. We know that. It can take 7 years to get one policy, but we need to build something that's so undeniable that happens. In the UL Research Institute, when they started almost 140 years ago, Merrill saw something. He saw a problem that nobody else saw. So he fixed it. He basically went, this needs to be a standard. And he set the safety standard. The underwriters laboratory went to all the insurers and said, I've got the solution. They backed him. And boom, they're one of the leading safety institutes that test products and verifies the safety of products from your electricity. Now they're going in and testing like AI in toys. That is scary stuff. The AI in toys, with sexual content in them for a 2-year-old, like, come on. It's the Wild West out there. So that's basically what we're creating for AI that doesn't exist. And everywhere you look, people are saying, this is what needs to happen, but no one's doing it. And we've got eSafety, everyone's up in arms. Oh, it didn't work. Hey, excuse me, you need to actually get the data to see what's happening. It's a process. So let's commend that you're better off to do something than nothing at all. And the researchers that are involved in all of that are going to come back with the data that's needed. They're not saying this is the solution. This is putting the pressure on the accountability of where it matters. It's not punishing children. It's not punishing parents. It's basically saying to the platforms, this is what needs to change for children to either be on the platforms or not on the platforms. And 16 is the age that we have in Australia. Other countries are 14. Other countries are following suit. Kids are upset. It's change. And it's big change. But we need change.
Agreed. So let's role play for a second. I'm a parent. I have a kid who's 12, and that child is chatting online to people in games. Now, I've got no idea what's happening on the other end of this conversation, right? Now, you've built a behavioral classification model, if you want to call it that. Trying to keep this as simple as possible. So you go from P1, which is early grooming initiation, all the way through to P10, organized criminal networks. Now, most parents have never heard of this. So what I want is, if you could at least say, walk me through the first three. You got P1, which is trust establishment, P2, isolation, and P3, boundary dissolution. What does that actually look like in real life? I guess, what would I as a parent see if I could read that conversation?
So P1 is where we're establishing and building trust. So the groomer is building a rapid bonding language. So excessive flattery, mirroring of the interest of the child. So if, I play soccer. Oh, I love soccer. What position do you play? I play this position. See, we're just building a sense of similarity and familiarity that builds intimacy quickly. So that's P1. And that detection would focus on emotional validation that's building with the child. So that would be flagged and sit in that layer. Then we would go in and it would follow if it continues. Then it would be creating exclusive conditioning. So the offender tries to so something like, do you know what? We're so good at playing this game. and the others, in our group are lagging us behind. We should just go and come and play just with me, and then I will give you extra credits, and then you'll be able to level up, and then you'll be the head of the game. So, see, that sounds innocent. It sounds like, well, yeah, I want to do that. I want to be the best. So it starts to frame, or we get on so well, I'd like to be able to chat with you outside of here. Do you have WhatsApp? What's your phone number? So it's trying to isolate and bring exclusive conditioning that feels good. The third stage is boundary dissolution. So that's where the offender tests and erodes personal boundaries through consistency. So starting to getting a bit more comfortable, right? I know you well enough, so now I can be a little bit more comfortable, and I might just have little sexual innuendos or pry into sensitive information. So it's trying to build an intimate connection. Oh, that was funny. That's a joke. So now it's pushing boundaries. So then from there, and part of the boundary testing too in that 4 would be asking, what school do you go to? Or where do your parents work? So accessing personal and private information about your environment and your family dynamics. So that's another one to be aware of, teaching your children not to share any of that information online. Then it goes into where 4 would be taking them into offline, going into WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, SMS, trying to get them into a one-to-one situation to be able to talk. So that comes into taxonomy 4 of the grooming and coercion and manipulation of the building of the relationship. And then the next level is for photos or sending photos, requesting for selfies. They don't even have to be sexual, but anyone trying to see what your child looks like is a part of a grooming. It's like, I'll show you who I am, show me who you are. And it can be very innocent of just, who are you? Let's have a video call. We're friends now. I want to build this relationship, this friendship. See, so it happens very nuanced. And this is where a lot of these apps and stuff don't pick up on the very nuanced performance of a predator.
Yeah.
And then it comes into 6 is where we're going into now they're threatening. So they're trying to manipulate. So let's just say a photo has been sent. Now they've used AI. They've developed and created that into something might be sexual or whatever it is. Now they're demanding and threatening. So using intimidation language or threats to try and get more photos or out of the child. Then 7 is when it comes into the financial side, when they're trying to get money and distort the child for money. Or any human being. Like, this is not just children. This is happening to the elderly. This is happening in dating sites. This is just happening. Let's just not, the focus is children are the most vulnerable. Absolutely. But this is happening globally, daily, to so many people of all ages. So that after 7, we go into 8, and that's where it becomes aggressive behavior and harassment. Now, you can do all the education in the world. You can go through and you can teach your children about not doing this, but how does it feel when you feel like you trust someone? Let that sink in for a moment, because it can feel like you trust this person. It's been built. This is all designed to get to this point. Now, when something happens that has never happened in your life before, that puts you in survival and triggers your nervous system reaction to be dysregulated, nothing prepares you for that. Nothing prepares a child or anyone for what's going to happen and how you're going to cope, because most children that even if they've got a great relationship with their parents, don't want to disappoint them. So they freak out and think that I don't want to disappoint my mom, I'm going to get into trouble. And they've probably been told that. They've been told, your life is ruined. We're sending this to your pastor of the church, to your principal, to your parents. Everyone's going to know about this. You will never work again. Your life is ruined. You have to give us money to stop us from sending these photos. Okay. 9 is where the crisis signal and acute distress is activated. This is where the target, the child or the victim of the predator, feels hopeless and doesn't know what to do. So that's where it's escalated now into the organised crime networks, where the patterns start activating and originate from organised criminal operations rather than individual offenders. So what we've noticed is these are organised crime networks. It's not just one person grooming. There's a whole there's a conglomerate of all of them that do that. And I know it took 4 days for bringing down a ring that was happening, which I witnessed. And I talked to my neighbour about what was going on in her house. They're criminal networks. So 10 is where we are now at the escalation point. P10 has been detected. So we generate an evidence pack, which going to Crime Stoppers, and that we have someone reaching out to that child immediately when that crisis hits. They hit that button, they need to be contacted in 60 seconds. And sometimes that is safer than contacting a parent who might be at work. And the child feels that they can't contact my parent. So who do I contact? Or any person. So I think, that's the 10.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable amount of information. I think that every parent needs to let that sink in because, and I've had this with many people that I've had on this podcast so far on this topic, is first thing is first. You have to make sure your child understands, regardless of your day-to-day, you've been told off for this or you're in trouble for that if anything happens that makes you uncomfortable, that you need to come, and this is a safe space. At that moment, there is no judgment. There is no being told off. There is nothing. That's all out the window, despite what might be running through my head, even for that matter. And it's such an important message for children to understand because, as you said, and you've experienced, I should say, your daughter, even though she knew that, she still let it get to a certain point because it felt good, right? But at a certain point, something's triggered and she's come to you and she's spoken to you. So what is it? And I want parents to hear this because, I'm sure they're still letting the last thing you said sink in. Yeah. What is it as a parent? And I'm going to say parent because mum, dad, grandparent, uncle, auntie, doesn't matter, true trusted family member, but parents need to tell their child today, and I say child up to the age of, 16, what would you advise every parent to talk to their children about so they could talk to their child and their child could too come to them at the same point like your daughter did to you?
I think the first point is teach them about fast, intimate connections and what that means. Being called things like sweetheart or, I think the biggest one for me that I would like to all parents to have with their children is, and what I've had with my children, if anything ever happens to you online that makes you feel scared or that brings up shame or activates your nervous system and dysregulates you and makes you fear that you might get into trouble, please understand that you are a victim of something that has happened to you, and you are so courageous by being able to come and share that with mummy, and you will never be in trouble, and I will support you and we will be able to get through it because your safety matters. So I will never, ever be disappointed in you for something that you did that you thought was a good idea and turned out it wasn't, or that you didn't know what was going to happen, or that you've been bullied or whatever the situation is, it takes a lot of courage to say I'm scared. It takes a lot of courage to say I need help. And you are so courageous, and I'm so proud of you for being able to be a child that can do that.
Yeah. I think as parents, I think sometimes we forget that because of our expectations, our own upbringing for that matter, that they are just children. Even at the age of 16, they have not experienced life. So good or bad, they're going to make decisions whether you agree or disagree. And that safe space absolutely 100% must be there for your child to come to you and talk to you. And so they're not in this situation. Because as you said, on average, 220 a day reports, and where we aren't hearing the amount of, suicides. And as a parent, like knock on wood, um, the I cannot imagine anything worse than your child harming themselves or taking their own lives. And, what would you do? Most parents would blame themselves or whatever it is. And we see it outside the court cases against technologies that are out there. So yeah, absolutely must build that safe
Hmm.
space.
So important. To let your kids know that you're there to support them and they won't ever be in trouble. It's not their fault. And if anyone's telling them that they'll be in trouble and it is their fault, that's actually a good time to come and talk to mum or dad.
That's right. You come now, you tell me now, it doesn't matter.
Another big one is pornography. Okay. We had on our kids' phone, like they can't access adult content and things like that. Then I had this weird vibe to check my son's phone, and it happened within 24 hours. It's just another, sorry, I'm so intuitive, but something's not right in your phone either. Show me that. And I was shocked. How did you access pornography? And what did you see? And my child said, my friend sent me a link to show me how to get around the parental locks to access anything that I want, and all the other kids had seen it and I hadn't, and so I wanted to know what they had seen. And I said, "Oh, wow, okay." And what was that experience like for you? How did you feel about that? What you saw? And we were able to have a conversation about that, and I'm pretty bold and said, like, it's not real, and most of those girls are sex trafficked and drugged and forced into doing those things, and that's not something that you want to witness or see. Now, um, how are you feeling? Would you like to have a bit of therapy and talk to someone about that? Because, if you feel uncomfortable having that conversation with your parents, then, how do we support you? Not you're in trouble. And, and when you're older, if you access things like that, consciously do that out of your own discernment. I don't judge. I'm not here to judge anyone about their decisions and choices, but no child should be learning that, because children are seeing that as a part of sex education. This is how we learn about what adults do when they grow up. And that is really, really scary. Very scary that this is happening. So, yes, let's protect children online whilst they can just go into a pornography site and hit the little button that says I'm 18. I can be 2 years old and say I'm 18 and access anything online to do with pornography, but we don't want children on social media and they have to prove their age to be on a social media platform. Yet the industry of pornography, that's a whole other beast.
Yep, yep, yep. It's as you said. I mean, look, at the end of the day, many many experts in the field makes it crystal clear on this point when it comes to the internet is when we give a child a phone, and I want every parent to think about this. I mean, and there's different circumstances out there. Listen, this is not a judgment on any parent, but you're not giving your kid internet. You're giving the internet to your child effectively. You know what I mean? And that means the internet is connected to your child, and it means that everything is open if they know how, or they have friends who tell them how to do it. And again, they
Instant
haven't experienced
gratification too.
life. And now they're not going to you as a parent or their uncle for advice when there's so many
It's
influencers and people out there well, not even real. So,
Well, it's exactly who is influencing your child. And do you want that influence upon your child? If you don't, then be aware of what your child is doing online. So when we consider that you buy a new car, do you go and get it checked to make sure the seat belts are safe and the airbags are safe and the brakes work? You don't, because you know that it's already been checked for it to be. And if there's an issue, it gets a recall and you get a new car. Not doesn't happen very often, but it happens, right? So what if we were able to do that every child who had access to technology had that
yeah,
level of
correct.
safety? Because we just presumed everything is safe because everything we buy has some level of safety standard, but the internet wasn't given that standard. Technology wasn't given that standard. My big audacious goal in all of this is that every device on the planet that touches a child has a safety mechanism. It's in the OS layer. It's built in. So when we first got technology and we carried around the bricks because, like we're dinosaurs and we started with, So yeah, there was no antiviral software on our technology. Then we were getting hacked and then we were getting viruses and blowing up our hard drives and all of those things. So then they put an antiviral software. Now when you buy a device, that's already on there with Siri. So I want to enforce that we create that. That's my big audacious goal. That's where I'm heading. And I don't care, you know what, it might not happen in my lifetime, it might. I might, you know what, I would prefer to go down and miserably fail, but be a catalyst to what becomes the safety environment for humanity. At least I've made a noise. At least I've made an impact. At least I've done something, right? But I absolutely believe what I've architected is the solution. Let's say, one of the solutions, because there's going to be a lot of collaborations. We're already collaborating with institutes, research institutes. We have credible people sitting on the Safe Council ready to work and operate together. And I'm not going to back down.
That's amazing. And so let's bring it to a ground, right? And let's get specific. We mentioned before that Australia introduced new laws, and in December we lead the world. So I commend the Australian government for standing up to big tech. But I believe the eSafety Australia and the commissioner have been put into a position that's not comfortable. And as you said, we've given a certain time frame. It's only been 3 months or four or just over, but on the 24th of March, the eSafety Commissioner published a report finding that 4 major AI company chatbots are failing to protect Australian children. Now, we know, based on our numbers, that 79% of Australian kids are using AI assistants or companions. Now, phase
It's
2,
alarming.
yeah, I know, right?
So
But
alarming.
it's built into technology, as you said. Even if the child didn't deliberately want it, it's there built into certain technologies for that matter. Or it's a new toy that parents just don't
Mm.
understand and get, right? And phase 2 commenced on the 9th of March. The Social Media Minimum Age Act has been enforced, as I said, since December, including all the big platforms that we know, Meta, Snap, TikTok, YouTube, have already been flagged
I think
for compliance
Roblox.
issues. Yeah, right. They've all been flagged now. They've had their chance for the first 3 months to, the laws are in. Now, the laws are landing. The architecture to verify these laws are working, but doesn't exist yet, really. So
It
that's the
doesn't.
gap I see that you're trying to fill.
Absolutely.
So when you look at the next 12 to 18 months, let's just say Australia specifically, because again, we're leading on this
Mm.
and we implemented it first, happens if the gap doesn't close?
humanity doesn't win. I don't like it's honestly, it sounds like something out of a movie that we're in right now. And we have to listen to the experts who built the AI in the first place and their concerns. We need to listen to the likes of Anthropic, who have developed something and went, holy, hold it back, right? Because we don't know. None of us know. I don't know. You don't know. The governments don't know. But we have to do something and fast. We have to band together. No one has, if I've got a solution, I'm going to share it with whomever. I'm not in competition with anyone here. And it's about what is the best solution. And even I could have experts come in and we could start looking at what I've developed and it could take a total pivot. It's like, well, that part doesn't work. We need to look at this part. But it has to happen because if we don't, we're not going, like, what's happening to our children now and the influence on them? Our children are developing an identity in an artificial world, appearing as real. You and I had an identity before we got given a phone, before we got on this laptop. We had an identity. So we could discern and we're a little bit more aware and have coherence. Some adults don't, but that's another story.
Yeah, agreed.
They're called predators. So, but when we look at it from that perspective, do we want our children being influenced by algorithms and influencers who are trying to make money out of them? And that's it, the whole marketing 101. Problem solution. You're fat and feel like shit, then come over here and pay me and I'll whip you into shape and then you'll be on stage in an like whatever it is. So it's whatever your concern is, I can market to you. So your children are building an identity of influence, of being marketed to up to 8 hours a day. Some of these kids are online. So parents are also doing their best. They're working. They're trying to access all the information, understand. They're at capacity. It's not the parents' fault. The parents can only do as much as they can do to the awareness and the capacity of what they have with their children. And then we've got neurodivergence. Imagine telling a child with oppositional defiance disorder not to do something. They're going to do, so we've created a huge problem. And now it's almost too late to find a solution because kids are already damaged from it. They're born into this. We're in a whole new world, in a whole new era. And right now we're all saying we need to can we just all pause? We need a solution. And to do that solution, we need all of us to come together and look at what is the solution. We need data, we need research, we need proof. And we need a physical something that protects everybody in real time before it happens. Could you imagine having something for especially coercive control and women in domestic violence is catastrophic.
Mm.
And it's not because men are bad or women are better. It's not because men are also experiencing this level of coercive control. And, it's a human problem. It's not a man versus women problem. It's a human problem. So imagine if you had an AI bot that was showing you the patterns of coercive control and how to deal with that to keep you safe or to cut it down or lock it off or to have the data that can be shown and proven to protect you.
Yeah. Let me bring it back to our audience. So the parents listening to this tonight or the small business owners who runs a platform or business owners who runs a platform that interacts with kids, the school principal who's about to sign an ed tech contract. Safe Labs hasn't certified anyone yet. The standard isn't yet enforceable. You're really early on this in the technology
We
that
are.
you're trying to build. So what do you tell them this week? What's the question they should be asking that they aren't asking right now?
I would be looking for behavioural changes, not just messages, because looking at how your children, are your children needing to close doors more? Are they wanting more privacy? Like, be aware, be really aware of any change. Minimal changes is enough to just put that as a data source and watch. And for organizations, I think a really simple question is how is the safety of this technology independently verified? So for schools, start asking what systems are in place beyond the policy. I think it's too easy just to presume everything is the way it should be. But how many children are accessing YouTube or things that they shouldn't be in school hours on school technology? They're not going to tell you it's happening, but we all know it is. Right? So I think for parents watching in, patterns of behavior of your child, if they're behaving differently, or just being more curious, sitting down with them, asking them, oh, what are you playing? Oh, what level are you on? Who are you playing with? Who are you talking to? Or asking, can I have a look at your phone to make sure that, that you are safe? It's not because you're being a helicopter parent, but we want to know, are they accessing or adding other children on platforms? So I have a rule with my children: if you haven't met the person, you don't know them. You don't add them.
There's no internet friend, right?
Yeah, well, there's depending on the age. Like my 10-year-old, she only has people that she knows, like school friends, family, people that she's aware of. You can play games, and there were people like on Roblox. There's going to be other kids on Roblox, but you don't add them anywhere else.
Yeah. Now, Nyree, I want to wrap this up with a hypothetical, okay? If I gave you the architect's pen, not a magic wand, the architect's pen, and you could write one rule that every AI system on Earth interacting with children would have to follow from tomorrow morning onwards, one rule, non-negotiable, enforced. What's the rule?
I think it's that to hold the boundary to protect a child and to not blur the lines between the relationship of safety and intimate connection.
Amazing.
Because I think, well, you've only got to look at using AI personally yourself. I train my AI to challenge me, not appease me. I've given it rules. It's not allowed to agree with everything and make me feel good about myself. It's like, that's what people like. So it's trained to do that, to agree with you, anything, whatever you want. So that needs to be removed. If they say that AI comes as a trust and truth, make it be trust and truth. Truth is not agreeing with absolutely everything about you to make you feel good about yourself. That's not life. It should challenge you. Mine tells me no, don't do that. I don't agree.
Yep. Yep. Now, how do people get in contact with you?
We have our website live. It is safestandard.ai. I'm on LinkedIn as Nyree. I'm the only Nyree in the world. Yeah, I am completely open. I would love to chat to anyone in the space, in the industry. It's I'm very open. I'm very collaborative. I like to build relationships and work with other companies doing great in the world. What are you doing and how can I support and amplify you? Right? It's about coming together for the greater good of humanity, and we can work faster together where no one's left behind. But those who are wanting to lead from the front without collaboration, good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time to coming on this podcast, the energy you've given it, and thank you for pushing out what you've built to, as you said, whether it becomes the first, whether it's the catalyst to start the platform. What you're doing is amazing. I'm in the industry. I see what happens every day, and I love it. The architect's approach, opposing let's fix this problem, is such a better way to approach everything. Wish the government had listened or created this up front. But look, as I said, they've stood up to big tech. I'm grateful that they've had the balls to do that, like no other government hasn't, and they've become the catalyst for other countries. So good on you, and I commend our e-commissioner for standing up for everything that's happened and what she's doing. I see her conversations on, like many other people on LinkedIn. And so what you're doing is amazing, and thank you.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to see our white paper, we've uploaded it and we're putting it out publicly now. It wasn't public, but we're thought, do you know what? Let's put it out there. Take it, look at it, read it. And if you feel that you're meant to be a part of it, please contact me because we're in this together.
Yep. Love that.
And then we will, develop and launch the Global AI Accountability Day called Can You Prove It? And that's, there's a lot of global days out there. There's a lot doing for AI, but no one's actually going to the core and saying, are you safe and can you prove it? So we're going to create that movement.
Amazing. That's amazing. I can't wait. We'll definitely, be there.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. This has been so much fun. I've really enjoyed being able to hang out with you today and talk about safety, AI, children, the future, where we're headed. And, I hope we can collaborate and do more work together.
Definitely. Looking forward to it.